Have you ever seen a man so furious he turned his back on the President of the United States? That's exactly what happened one cool morning in Cedar Valley. Cameras flashed. The crowd roared. Flags snapped in the wind. And yet, in the very front row, one man stood still, arms crossed, jaw clenched, eyes burning with a fire years in the making. Eli Turner, a 55-year-old farmer whose land had been passed down through generations, watched the president approach. A man who once believed in promises. A man whose faith in institutions had been chipped away, drought by drought, loan by loan, year by painful year. President Donald Trump had come to Cedar Valley to talk about new proposals for rural recovery. Reporters circled like hawks, waiting for the perfect shot. The president greeted families, shook hands, smiled for the cameras. Then he reached Eli. Eli didn't clap. He didn't offer a polite nod. And when the president extended his hand, Eli muttered under his breath, "You don't deserve mine." A ripple of shock spread across the crowd. Cameras whipped toward them. Security stiffened. Trump's eyes narrowed, not angrily, but curiously, and after a moment, he simply nodded and moved to greet the next farmer. The clip hit the news within the hour. Farmer snubs president in rare public STNDOFF sum. Praised Eli, others condemned him, but no one knew the truth behind those few seconds of defiance, not yet. The breaking point 1 month earlier. Eli's last cornfield had withered to dust. His wife, Lavara, kept urging patience. Their daughter, Grace, a college student, had taken double shifts at the diner to help with bills, and then the envelope came. A white one with the county seal. Notice of foreclosure, auction date. June 14. Eli felt the world go silent. 112 acres, land his father taught him to plow. The barn where Grace took her first fall off a horse. The apple trees planted when Eli was 10 would be gone. "They're taking it," he whispered. "Everything." Laura's eyes shimmered. "We'll find help. Someone has to listen." He tried. He called offices, wrote letters, showed up at meetings. Every door seemed to slam shut. So when Grace mentioned the president's upcoming visit, Eli wasn't looking for conversation. He was looking for justice. The viral moment. The fairgrounds were packed the morning Trump arrived. Red, white, and blue lined the stage. Local news vans surrounded the fields. Eli wore his oldest jacket, the one with frayed cuffs. When the president approached him, hand outstretched, Eli's anger finally broke the surface. "You talk about helping farmers," he said, voice tight, "but you let the banks choke us dry. My land is gone because the help you promised never reached us." Silence fell. Reporters leaned in. Trump studied him carefully. "What's your name?" The president asked. "Eli Turner." He nodded once. "I'll remember that." No argument? No defense? He simply turned and walked away. By nightfall, millions had seen the confrontation, but Eli's life was about to turn in a direction he never expected. The quiet intervention 3 days later. Eli was fixing a sagging fence when a black SUV crunched up the gravel drive. A tall woman stepped out, crisp navy suit catching the light. "Mr. Turner? Who's asking?" "Michelle Carter, U.S. Agriculture Department." Eli stiffened. She flipped open a file. "Your property has been flagged for review. There may be grounds to reinstate your loan." Eli laughed bitterly. "Now? After everything's gone?" "You haven't lost everything yet," she said. "Someone brought your case to our attention." "Who?" "I can't say." When she left, Eli tossed the paperwork into the yard. But later that night, under the porch light, he retrieved it. Someone had written a line at the bottom. "For those who feed the nation, you are not forgotten." He studied the handwriting, unable to shake the feeling that he recognized it. The race against time. The auction was 2 days away. Eli called the USDA. No update. The bank was unmoved. Grace tried to comfort him. Lavra begged him not to give up, but Eli had already begun saying goodbye. He walked the fields that night, touching the cracked earth, the old barn, the leaning fences. His entire life had grown from this land. When headlights appeared down the dirt road, he nearly didn't turn around. It was Michelle Carter again. She stepped out, Breathless, holding a folder, "The review is complete," she said. "Your foreclosure has been suspended. An emergency payment has been issued to cover your overdue balance." Eli blinked. "What? By who?" She hesitated. "A private donor," she said slowly. "But the authorization came directly from the Oval Office." Eli froze. "The president?" Michelle offered a faint smile. "Sometimes help comes quietly." The letter by morning. All of Cedar Valley knew the news. Eli Turner's farm, the one everyone had mourned, had been saved at the last possible second. At the diner, patrons whispered, "He must have gotten lucky." No word as the president stepped in. Why would he help after being insulted? Maybe that's exactly why. Grace came home that night, shaking her head in disbelief. "Dad, they're calling you the luckiest farmer in America." Eli didn't answer. He was staring at the new envelope on the table, the one stamped with the presidential seal. Inside was a single message. "Your loan has been reinstated under private. Directive: continue your work. America needs its farmers." There was no signature, only the golden crest embossed at the top. Lavra touched Eli's shoulder gently. "Maybe you misjudged him." Eli swallowed hard, eyes drifting toward the quiet fields outside. "I don't know what to believe," he whispered. That night, beneath a sky full of stars, he stood alone with the wind rustling the dry corn. Confusion, pride, gratitude, anger, every emotion warred inside him. "Why would he help me?" Eli murmured, "after I humiliated him?" The night offered no answer, but somewhere far away, in a dim White House office, a small note sat on a desk. Eli Turner had seen plenty of anger in his 55 years, but nothing like the fury burning in him the morning the president arrived in Cedar Valley. The crowd roared, photographers snapped away, and flags whipped in the wind, but Eli stood motionless, arms folded, jaw locked, eyes lit with quiet fire. When President Donald Trump extended a hand toward him, Eli didn't take it. "You don't deserve mine," he said. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Trump froze only a second, eyes narrowing almost imperceptibly, then nodded and moved on without a word. By sunset, every news outlet in the country was replaying the clip. Farmer snubs president. Some called Eli a hero. Others called him ungrateful. No one knew what had driven him to that moment. Just weeks earlier, Eli had watched his last cornfield shrivel under the relentless drought. His wife, Lavra, had begged him to stay hopeful, and their daughter, Grace, only 21, had been working double shifts to help with mounting debt. Then the foreclosure notice arrived. His family's 112 acres, held for generations, were scheduled for auction. Eli felt betrayed by the government, by the system, by every politician who promised help and delivered nothing. When he saw Trump on television announcing new farm relief programs, Eli scoffed. "Words," he muttered. "Just words." When Grace mentioned the president's upcoming visit to Cedar Valley, Eli didn't hesitate. "I'll talk to him," he said. "He needs to hear the truth." He had no idea that his confrontation would ignite the internet or spark a chain reaction in Washington. 3 days later, a black SUV rumbled up his driveway. A woman stepped out in a Navy suit. "Mr. Turner?" "I'm Agent Michelle Carter with the U.S. Department of Agriculture." Eli didn't hide his skepticism. "You're a bit late." She opened the file. "Your property has been flagged for review under the Emergency Rural Relief Act. Your foreclosure may be suspended." Eli laughed bitterly. "Because the president got embarrassed?" Michelle ignored the jab. She slid a paper across the table. At the bottom, handwritten in the corner, were the words, "For those who feed the nation, you are not forgotten." Something about the handwriting nagged at him, but the bank insisted the auction was still scheduled. No one returned his calls. Eli prepared himself to lose everything. Then, 2 nights before the auction, Michelle returned, breathless with urgency. "Mr. Turner, the investigation is complete. The foreclosure is suspended. An emergency payment has covered your overdue balance." Eli stared at her. "Who paid it?" "A private donor," she said. Then, quieter, the directive came from the Oval Office. Eli's breath caught. Trump, after being publicly humiliated? It made no sense. The next morning, his phone rang. "Mr. Turner, said a calm voice. "This is David Lawson, Special Assistant to the President. The President would like a word." Eli barely had time to react before a familiar voice came through, firm, steady, and unexpectedly warm. "Eli Turner." Eli swallowed. "Yes, sir." "Tough situation you've been in," Trump said. "Someone stepped up to help you, so I heard." "Doing the right thing isn't about credit," Trump added. "You work hard. You spoke your mind. I respect that." Eli stood speechless. "I just ask one thing," Trump finished. "Keep going. Don't quit." The call ended. Eli lowered the phone, stunned. When Lavra appeared in the doorway and asked who he'd been talking to, all he could say was, "Someone I might owe an apology to?" But the story refused to die. Reporters swarmed Cedar Valley. Neighbors whispered. Half the town thought the president's intervention was noble. The other half called it political theater. Grace tried to calm him. "Maybe it's not about politics. Maybe it's about second chances." A month later, the president returned to tour local farms. Eli didn't want to go, but Grace insisted. When Trump spotted him in the crowd, he grinned. "Mr. Turner, how's the soil treating you?" Eli stammered. "Much better, sir. I never expected to see you again. I